it's Jay with 1791 Actual. Thanks for stopping by for video number, let's see, this will be video number 5 in our series on setting up your Lee reloading dies. Again, we're focusing specifically on Lee dies. The setup is very much the same for all manufacturers, but this is specific instructions on the Lee dies. Lee does a really good job of including a guide in with the die sets on how to set them up, but a lot of times, you kind of like to see somebody actually doing what the manual or the little pamphlet says to do. So we're here to help you learn. So today we are going to talk about the die that would occupy this position in a 4-die Lee set. We've looked at, first at the decapping and resizing die. We diverted then from the Lee dies over to the RCBS Ram Prime. Talked about different Ram Primes, talked about different priming arms and how those worked. Then we looked at the case mouth expansion die, or in Lee's case, the powder through expansion die. So today we're going to look at the next step in the process, the die that would occupy this position in our case. And that consists of this die. And again, I have the die taken apart so that we can talk about how it works and how it does what it does. Now you'll notice, again, our case slips nicely in. There it goes. Our case slips nicely in to a point, at which point it stops. And when we're setting our die up, we're actually going to take the die down until it touches the top of our case, and that's where we're going to lock it in place. Again, this one, it's going to be a little bit different between 357 Magnum and 38 Special, which is shorter. So if you notice how far in that goes versus how far in this one goes, okay? So a lot of people like to set their jam nut, set it and forget it. Use a crimp down jam nut. As you've seen before, and you'll see it again, I only do that on one of my dies. That's this this Ram Prime die, because this never needs to change. So, but unless you have multiple die sets, if you're doing 357 and 38 Special, like I do a lot, it's one of my favorite calibers to reload. You would have to either have multiple die sets, or you leave it and you set it up each time that you're going to load. I actually do have multiple die sets, but I still I prefer using this 4-die set. So how this works? Get your case up in there. You've got this rod that is cupped on the end. Neatly fits the end of a bullet. And you actually can get different ones. There's if you're doing strictly flat point bullets, wad cutters, there's actually one that has a flat face on it. That presses on the bullet just a little bit nicer. That drops in. This side goes down. It's going to face toward the case. Drops all the way in. This is your seating adjustment. So you can hear it. And at that point, when I put this up in there, I turn this down, and I can turn that down until it's actually hitting the until that rod is actually getting down into the case. But that's not what this die is for. This die is for seating a bullet. Remember, I expanded that case mouth so that my bullet will sit in there when it's sitting on top of the ram. And I'm going to run this up inside. We'll do a full setup here in a minute, but I'm going to run that up inside. And you can see that bullet is actually touching that cap, or that pin. So kind of get that started a little bit. Our bullet's going to go up in there. And then as you turn this down further and further, and if you watch closely, you'll actually see how it's pushing that case out? Well, if this is on top of the ram, the point of least resistance is between the bullet and the case, at which point that pin is going to press the bullet down into the case. Now, this has no primer in it, but we are going to go ahead and seat the bullet, because we're going to set this up as a dummy round, just as an example round. So let's jump over to the press. I've already got my shell holder in, and I'm going to start my die body down into the press. I'm going to raise my ram all the way to the top, just until I feel that touch the end of the case. Now, in other instances, we have jam nutted that down real far. In this case, I'm only going to give that about 1/8 of a turn or less, just enough where I can get enough pressure to kind of hold that. At which point I'm going to snug my jam nut down. Again, it's not Godzilla tight. It's not King Kong tight. It's just tight. Doesn't move. Okay. So I'm going to back my seating pin way out. And I'm going to set my bullet on the top. And very, very slow and easy, bring it up. And I actually felt it start to press that bullet in. And we'll jump back over here. See, it's starting to go in. It's actually, if you look at the length of the bullet, you can see how far that is already down into that case. And you can actually see a little bit of a line there where it swells. So, back over on press side, I need to go a little bit further, but I don't want to go too far all at once. So I'm going to give that right at 1/4 of a turn. And again, I can feel it, press it further down. Another 1/4. Another 1/4. Another 1/4. Now, you'll notice that bullet has got what's called a crimp groove or a cannula. Okay? And it's basically, we want the bullet depth to get to where the edge of our case is just about the middle of that. Could be right, could be not. So we're going to get out our caliper. our caliper, in our load data, there's what is called cartridge overall length, or some people call it COL, some call it OAL, overall length. It is cartridge overall length. For these, our COL is supposed to be 1.575 inches. So I'm going to come up here, 1.575. And I'm going to lock her down. And you can see it's not there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to give her a little bit. Again, small moves. You don't want to run it down farther than what you need. That becomes kind of a pain in the butt in and of itself. Okay, and we're starting to get up around that cannulus, so let's take another look over on our caliper. And still a little long, isn't it? So let's continue on. But I think I'm going to start giving it like 1/8 of a turns, because I am so close to where I want to be. Still not quite there, but we're probably down into the hundredths at this point. And it is just so darn close. And there it is. We have achieved our length. Now, there's nothing else to do to lock this down. The Lee seating die doesn't have a jam nut. Some manufacturers put a jam nut up here, such that once you get that set and you're where you want it to be, that you would tighten that jam nut, and that'll lock that in place. So because these don't have that feature, I check every one of my bullets that I assemble this way. So now we're going to talk about a slightly different option, and that is the Lee seating and crimping die. I'm not going to get too far into it, up beyond saying that the seating and crimping die actually performs both functions at the same time. So where you would have in this 4-die set, you would have your seating die followed by the crimping die. Crimping die does just that. It comes down and it crimps the end of that brass. Now, not everybody likes to crimp. Not everybody sees the need for crimping. So for a 4-die set, this is your seating die, and this is what's called a Lee factory seating die, or factory crimp die. Factory crimp die applies just that, the factory crimp. It is designed that when you put press that up in there, it's going to apply the crimp just like what you would find at the factory. How it, we'll have a separate video on the crimp and how to set it up coming up next. But we'll also have kind of a, I guess maybe a B side or B roll, whatever they call that, where we're actually going to do the combination seating and crimp die. So keep an eye out for that one. And as usual, thanks for stopping in. Hope you found something interesting. Hope you learned something. If you did, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're on YouTube watching this, make sure and hit that notification bell. Get notified anytime new content goes up or if I go live. So, as always, until next time, God bless and see you on the other side.